Why do animals seem so focused on survival, while we humans sometimes choose to let go? This is one of the most profound questions we can ask. To understand it, we must look at what makes us unique. Our ability to think, plan, and reflect on the future has brought incredible advancements. Yet, it also carries a heavy burden, the awareness of our own mortality. While animals live in the moment, driven by instinct, we humans are caught between the past and the future. This creates a constant tension. The same mind that builds cathedrals and solves complex problems can be overwhelmed by feelings of futility and despair. This duality is both our greatest strength and our greatest weakness. In this video, we'll explore why animals don't commit suicide and why humans, with all their complexity, sometimes face this painful dilemma. To do this, we'll dive into 3 dimensions: science, nihilistic philosophy, and the existential questions that shape us. More than just answering questions, we'll reflect on how to find meaning, even in the emptiness. This isn't going to be a sad video. Instead, it's an invitation to look inward and at the world around us through new lenses. We'll challenge what we know about life, death, and the search for meaning. Because ultimately, understanding this difference between humans and animals is about understanding what it means to be human. Animals operate by a simple rule: survive. They don't question the purpose of life. They just live it. Basic instincts like finding food, avoiding predators, and reproducing drive their actions. A lion doesn't ponder the meaning of being the king of the jungle, and a bird doesn't second-guess building its nest. Their focus is entirely on the present. Some animal behaviors may seem self-destructive, but they are often responses to specific circumstances. For example, bees die after stinging, but this serves to protect their hive. Dolphins sometimes beach themselves, not out of intent, but often due to illness, disorientation, or following a misled leader. These actions are biologically driven, even when they appear tragic. The absence of complex self-awareness is a critical difference between humans and animals. Animals don't dwell on the future or relive past traumas. This protects them from existential crises. For animals, life is purely instinctual. For us, it's a complex mix of survival and introspection, leading us to the next point: how our brains set us apart. Our brains are powerful machines, yet they can also be sources of deep anguish. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for abstract thinking, allows us to plan, imagine, and create. It also enables us to relive painful memories and foresee bleak futures. This ability to mentally time travel is both a gift and a curse. When we suffer, our brains can fall into negative loops. Depression, for instance, isn't just sadness. It's a chemical imbalance that distorts our perception of reality. The brain's reward system, which should drive pleasure and motivation, can malfunction, making joy feel unreachable. This is something animals with their simpler brains don't experience. Studies show that humans uniquely question the value of life. Often this questioning leads to the desire to escape, not because people want to die, but because they can't bear the pain. This complexity ties suicide not just to external circumstances, but to the intricate workings of our brains. Despite its challenges, the brain has an incredible feature: neuroplasticity, the ability to adapt and rewire itself. Even in the depths of despair, the brain can be trained to think differently. This capability offers hope, but also highlights a paradox. Our greatest ally is often our greatest enemy. If animals don't question the meaning of life, why do we? This question leads us to nihilism, a philosophy that asserts life has no inherent purpose. For many, this idea feels terrifying. After all, without a predefined meaning, what's left? But for thinkers like Friedrich Nietzsche, Nihilism wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something new. Nietzsche argued that realizing life lacks universal meaning challenges us to create our own. This freedom can feel overwhelming, but also liberating. Nihilism isn't about giving up. It's about taking control. It's like staring into a void and deciding how to fill it. Albert Camus, another influential philosopher, believed the ultimate philosophical question is whether life is worth living. For Camus, life is absurd, but that doesn't mean we should surrender. Instead, he suggested rebelling against the absurdity by finding joy in life's small pleasures. This revolt becomes the foundation for a life lived authentically. If nothing has inherent meaning, then anything can have meaning. This is the essence of optimistic nihilism. It reframes the absence of universal purpose as an opportunity. Instead of being confined by a fixed destiny, we become the creators of our own stories. This perspective encourages us to embrace the little things that bring us joy. A sunrise, a smile, or a kind word becomes more than just a moment. They become our personal anchors. Optimistic nihilism reminds us that life doesn't need grand meaning to be fulfilling. It's the small, everyday experiences that make it worthwhile. It also teaches us to accept uncertainty. Not knowing what comes next can be scary, but it's also a source of possibility. The blank canvas of existence isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. This shift in perspective can transform even the darkest moments into opportunities for growth. Nihilism, when viewed through this lens, becomes less of a threat and more of an ally. It allows us to see that meaning isn't something we find, it's something we create. By understanding this, we gain the power to live intentionally and to appreciate the beauty in simply existing. Our ability to reflect on life is what makes us human, but it also creates a paradox. Biologically, we're programmed to survive, yet our minds can question why. While animals rely on instinct to navigate life, we find ourselves asking, is it worth continuing? This internal struggle between instinct and self-awareness is unique to humans. Questions like, if life is finite, what's the purpose? Or, if nothing matters, why should I? Arise from our capacity for deep thought. These reflections, which could lead us to meaning, often feel like a heavy burden. Instead of being a supportive tool, our minds can become harsh critics. This conflict leaves us vulnerable. While our bodies are designed to endure, our minds may resist. This disconnection between survival and introspection creates existential pain. Even without clear answers, we continue searching, driven by a desire to make sense of it all. Ironically, the suffering that makes us question life can also be a source of transformation. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, argued that even in the worst circumstances we can find purpose. He discovered that meaning often comes from how we respond to suffering, not the suffering itself. Pain teaches us resilience, empathy, and humility. It's through hardship that we often discover strength we didn't know we had. The poet Rumi expressed this beautifully. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Suffering, while painful, can be a doorway to growth and understanding. This doesn't mean we should romanticize pain. Instead, we should recognize it as an integral part of the human experience. Without sadness, we wouldn't appreciate joy. Without challenges, we wouldn't grow. Suffering, paradoxically, enriches life by giving it depth. Living is about facing pain while seeking beauty. This duality, as uncomfortable as it may be, defines the human condition. Even in life's darkest moments, there's always the potential for change and renewal. A reminder that the story isn't over yet. Science shows us that even in the depths of despair, there are paths to change. Our brains possess an incredible ability called neuroplasticity, which allows them to rewire and adapt over time. This means that even when negative thought patterns seem inescapable, they can be reshaped with effort and support. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, help people identify and challenge negative beliefs, creating new ways of thinking. In some cases, medications can restore balance to brain chemistry, enabling individuals to experience pleasure and hope again. Physical activities like running or yoga are also proven to release endorphins, alleviating depressive symptoms. These approaches highlight an important truth. Even when it feels like there's no way out, small incremental steps can make a difference. Whether it's reaching out to a friend, starting therapy, or simply taking a walk, each action can build momentum toward recovery. Science doesn't offer instant fixes, but it provides tools for healing. Beyond science, philosophy gives us powerful ways to confront life's challenges. Albert Camus spoke of revolt against the absurd. Instead of surrendering to the lack of meaning, we choose to live anyway. This act of defiance turns existence into an art form, where every step is a creation of our own making. On a practical level, this might mean setting small, achievable goals. Waking up on time, preparing a meal, or caring for a plant can seem minor, but these acts anchor us in the present. Connecting with others is equally vital. Studies show that strong social bonds are one of the best defenses against suicidal thoughts. Finding beauty in the mundane is another powerful strategy. A sunset, a favorite song, or even a moment of silence can remind us of life's small joys. These experiences don't need to hold deep meaning. They simply need to exist, giving us reasons to stay grounded. Finally, it's crucial to remember that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of courage. Talking to a trusted friend or seeking professional support can be the most important step toward climbing out of the abyss. Even in the darkest times, there's always a light waiting to be found. Sometimes it just takes someone to help you see it. Life is both simple and complex. For animals, it's a cycle of instinct-driven survival. For us, it's a maze of questions, meanings, and emotions. This complexity can be overwhelming, but it's also what makes us unique. We're the only beings capable of turning suffering into art, pain into growth, and emptiness into opportunity. Even when we face crises and darkness, it's vital to remember the simple fact that we exist. That alone is extraordinary. We don't need to have all the answers. Sometimes it's enough to take one step at a time, to find joy in small moments, and to embrace life for its imperfections and surprises. If you're in a dark place, know that you're not alone. There are people who care, who are ready to listen, and who want to help. Reaching out is a powerful act of courage, and it can be the first step toward healing, whether it's a friend, a professional, or a support group. There's always someone willing to walk with you. Existence, with all its highs and lows, is an uncharted journey full of possibilities. It's up to us to decide how we navigate it. As Camus said, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Even while carrying heavy burdens, we can find moments of joy and fulfillment. The story isn't over yet. If you or someone you know needs help, don't hesitate to reach out. In the US, you can contact the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. In Brazil, the CVV offers support at 188. There's always hope, even when it feels far away. Thank you for watching. And remember, life is worth living, even as we're still figuring out why.